Nanti jalan.
Ya, Anda juga nggak bisa pakai kan? Oh, punya oh, potong kan? Oh, pakai handphone, pakai ini nggak bisa?
Nggak bisa.
Oh, nggak bisa ya? Pakai ini, kok bisa ya?
Oh, bisa di, oh, yang tembus itu ya?
Di laptop nggak bisa.
Minta linknya nggak bisa.
Ini tuh, saya kirim. Oh, yang ini. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Research Collaboration Festival between SEBELAS MARET University and Center for Advanced Material and Energy Sciences Trans University of Brunei Darussalam by SEBELAS MARET University. The Honorable First Dr. Maria Ulfa, Bachelor of Science, Magister of Science, as the Chairperson of Research Collaboration Festival 2024. Second, Dr. Katrina Mulyana, as Rector of Universitas 11 Maret.
Professor Dr. Mardiana, as the Dean of Teacher Training and Education, Faculty 11 Maret University. Dr. Elvi Susanti, as the Head of Study Program Bachelor of Chemistry Education, 11 Maret University.
Third, Haji Abdul Hanif bin Dato Paduka Haji Mahadi, Doctor of Philosophy, as Deputy Director of CHEMS from University of Brunei Darussalam.
Our speaker, Dr. Hasisa Bahruji from CHEMS UVD, Brunei Darussalam, as a first speaker.
Dr. Sausan Arawi from TISC International University, Iraq, as a second speaker.
Dr. Nurlida Othman, Port Richmond Hospital, Australia, as a third speaker.
Doctor of Philosophy candidate from UBD, Brunei Darussalam, Wahid Siddiq Sarifuddin, as the fourth speaker.
The honorable invited guests from our partner university.
And all participants.
First of all, let us praise and thanks presence of Allah for the abundance of grace and the joy that can still gather in this place without any curse at all and in good health. Before we come to the main session, let us start the Research Collaboration Festival by praying first. Pray begin. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Istingana Seturahma.
And I am Rifana Maulida as Master of Ceremony will guide this Research Collaboration Festival. I will read out our agenda this morning is as follows. First, singing National Anthem Indonesia Raya. Second, opening from Dr. Maria Ulfa, Bachelor of Science, Magister of Science, as the Chairperson of Research Collaboration Festival 2024. Third, research presentation of University of Brunei Darussalam, followed by discussion session. Fourth, research presentation of TISC International University, Iraq, followed by discussion session.
Research presentation of Port Richmond Hospital, Australia, followed by discussion session. 6. Research presentation of PhD candidate from UBD, Brunei Darussalam, followed by discussion session. 7. Video collaboration playback. And the last, closing ceremony and photo session. Before start the program, let us sing National Anthem Indonesia Raya. Participants are requested to follow carefully.
To start our program, we invite Dr. Maria Ulfa, Bachelor of Science, Magister of Science, as the chairperson of Research Collaboration Festival 2024 to give the first speech. To Dr. Maria Ulfa, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Rifana. Is my voice is clear? Is clear? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Rector of Universitas 11 Maret, Professor Dr. Katarina Mulyana, and the Honorable Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas 11 Maret, Professor Dr. Mardiana, and Professor Dr. Fitria Rahmawati, the Director of Research Center of Universitas 11 Maret, and also Dr. Abdul Hanif Mahadi, Director of Teams from Brunei Darussalam University, and also the head of Department of Chemistry Education and the head of Department Master of Chemistry Education, Dr. Elvi Susanti and Dr. Sri Retnadia Aryani, and also the honorable keynote speakers, Dr. Hasiza Bahruji from Brunei Darussalam University, and Dr. Sausan Al-Rawi from this International University, Iraq, and also Ms. Nurlida Othman from Edward Hospital, Australia, and Wahid Siddiq Sarifuddin, PhD candidate from University of Brunei Darussalam, and the honorable organizing committee, colleagues, and all participants of Research Collaboration Festival. It is such a great pleasure to welcome you all to the Research Collaboration Festival 2024. On behalf of the organizing committee of this event, allow me to deliver several points of report as follows. Research Collaboration Festival is the international lectures that organized by the Department of Chemistry Education and Master of Chemistry Education, Faculty of Teacher Training Education, Universitas 11 Maret on this Saturday, 4th May 2024, collaborated by UBD, this International University, Edward Hospital, and Universitas 11 Maret. The theme for Research Collaboration Festival 2024 is improving the role of research and innovation for better life. This event will be held annually by inviting reputable domestic and foreign academics. This event be held offline in Pasca Sarjana Building in Universitas 11 Maret in Indonesia, and by online via video conference, and attended by more than 150 participants from Indonesia and foreign countries. Research Collaboration Festival will be discuss result in the field of organic, inorganic, physical, and analytical chemistry, as well as other fields related to chemistry, such as pharmacy, health, and energy. Finally, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to everybody taking part in this conference, for participants, for keynote speakers, the organizing committee, steering committee, and the university, and also everyone else. Even though we, the committee, have tried to our best effort, I believe that there remains some inconvenience. For that, we do apologize. This is my end of my report. I hope all participants will enjoy this event. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I give back to Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to Dr. Maria Ulfa, Bachelor of Science, Magister of Science, for the speech and to open the conference.
The next session is first photo session. Please, all the participants, you can turn on your camera. First, for the first slide. 1, 2, 3.
Next, for the second slide, let's start taking pictures. 1, 2, 3. Next, for the third slide, let's start taking pictures. 1, 2, 3. And for the last slide, let's start taking pictures. 1, 2, 3.
Before we go into the next agenda, I will read the rules for today's event. I have you pay attention and obey the rules. Here are the rules. To first, make sure your computer, laptop, or cell phone device is connected to the internet. Second, if there are participants who have problem joining via the Zoom link, please confirm immediately in the group. Third, entry access for participant open 30 minutes before the event start. Next, rename your account name in formal institution underscores name when joining the Zoom room. Participants are asked to invite the camera during webinar activity, and participants are expected not to activate the microphone feature during webinar activities, except when asking questions or participating in the webinar when the moderator has asked for it.
6. Participants fill in the attendance link, which will be distributed by the committee during the webinar, which requires participants to take screenshots during each speaker's presentation. 7. During the question and answer sessions, participants can ask questions to the research person by using the Zoom chat box with the format name_agency_question, or you can ask directly by using the raise hand feature. 8. Moderator has full rights to organize webinar classes. 9. Certificates will be given only to the participants who fill in the attendance link and attend the webinar until the end of the event.
Getting to the main session, we will guide by our moderator, Dr. Rerum Naturalium Wirawan Cipto Nugroho from 11 Maret University. Before we starting to the next session, we would to read the curriculum vitae of Dr. Renat Wirawan Cipto Nugroho.
Dr. Renat Wirawan Cipto Nugroho, Magister Science, has several works in the form of articles including, first, recent developments in catalysis with pickering emulsion.
The second, flocculation performance of industrial sugars used by acrylamide-based anionic flocculant.
Third, synthesis of butyl level unit based on E-angelica lepton in the presence of easily separable heteropoly acid catalysis.
Okay, let's just call our moderator, Dr. Rerum Naturalium Wirawan Cipto Nugroho from 11 Maret University. To Dr. Renat Wirawan Cipto Nugroho, please welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear my voice clearly? Wait a minute. Okay, thank you very much for very kind introductions. For the first speaker, I would like to introduce you Dr. Hasliza Baruji. Dr. Baruji received her Bachelor and Master of Science from UTM, University of Technology, Malaysia. Of course, it is located in Malaysia. Afterward, she continued her study further at the Cardiff University in United Kingdom, England. No, Wales, I guess. After finishing her PhD, she continued being a postdoctoral researcher, I think for 4 years, for 2014 to 2018. before joining the University of Brunei Darussalam. Now she acts as an assistant professor at the Center of Advanced Materials and Energy Science, CAMS, UBD, at Brunei Darussalam. Concerning her research, she performed research mainly focusing on the development of solid materials and its application in catalysis, um, especially in the development of photocatalysis, semiconductors materials, carbon dioxide treatments, hydrogenation of carbon dioxide, and conversion of carbon dioxide to methane, CH4, and several decomposition of biomass related um, um, substrates. She has already H index of 22, and yeah, she has quite a lot of achievement, and of course we would like, or we look forward to having her as the first presenter. So without further delay, I would like to uh, welcome Dr. Baruji for yeah um, her presentations. So please, Dr. Baruji.
Again to Dr. Maria and all the committees for inviting me to speak in your research collaboration for festival for 2024. I'm Dr. Sliza, assistant professor from University of Brunei Darussalam. Since the past 6 years, I have been in active collaboration with Dr. Maria, working on so many field of work, especially for photocatalytic reaction. So today what I'm going to share with you is work that has been published and based on research conducted by my PhD student Wahid Siddiq Sarifuddin. He's one of the presenter today. So it's on copper dot zinc ferrite photocatalyst for hydrogen production and degradation of dyes in the visible region. As an introduction, we are really interested on ferrites. The reason why, because it has diverse application and it has ability to harness photon across visible light region. And we can see that from this figure here, ferrite always has a small band gap, which is around 1.5 to 2.1. Then by changing the M metal in ferrite, we can actually reposition the valence band and the conduction band so that it can position at the near the hydrogen production potential. For in this case, if we choose zinc ferrite and also zinc ferrite or copper ferrite, it can be put together. It can be ideal for hydrogen production. And another important thing is the magnetic properties of ferrite. Very good to remove them and recover them in the reaction by magnetic means. And then the base of ferrite can adopt either normal or inverse spinel arrangement. For example, this is the structure where the ferrite position and the metal that we put in the ferrite, for example, in this case copper or zinc, can actually reposition the valence band and the conduction band of the type of the ferrite structure. And it can actually allow the migration of electron and holes. So doping the M atom in ferrite into double metal ions such as magnesium, nickel, magnesium, manganese, zinc, copper, or cobalt can actually alter the position of the bands. This is what I mentioned previously. So in this study, what we tried to achieve with the copper zinc ferrite, that we vary the copper and zinc ratio from 0.05 to 0.75 using hydrothermal synthesis. The aim is try to get the optimum level of zinc doping or copper doping in the ferrite to improve the hydrogen production, and also we're going to look at dye degradation as well. So the predetermined quantities that we know for ferrite and copper nitride, we mix with zinc nitrate and then we dissolve in water, and then we use sodium hydroxide to produce clear solution, and after that we put it in the autoclave and then heat it up at 150 for 16 hours. So when we do SRD analysis, we use it predominantly to confirm the formation of ferrite species. Then we can see all the peak correspond to is either copper ferrite or zinc ferrite, depending on the level of copper and zinc ratio that we put in our sample. But interestingly, we can see the shift of 311 diffraction peak, which is this peak, to a higher 2 theta when you have a higher degree of copper atoms incorporated into the lattice. This lattice parameter of zinc ferrite was determined at 8.424 angstrom, which is slightly larger than copper ferrite because of the small radii of copper ion compared to zinc ion. And then we use the data from our SRD to calculate the structural parameters, for example, crystalline size, lattice parameters, unit cell volume, and hopping lengths to confirm the formation of copper drop into zinc ferrite structure. And we can see that as we increase the copper ratio from 0.05 to 0.75, we can see that there is a shortening of the length, okay, from 8.424 in zinc ferrite to 8.272 in copper ferrite, because we know that copper size is very small, smaller than zinc, and then that's why we have a shorter distance between the atom. So it does also affect the volume, and then the tetrahydride and also the hopping length. Then we look at the band gap energy. We can also see the shift of the band gap energy towards shorter or narrow band gap. And the space area also changed. We will discuss in a minute. And then this is the PL spectroscopy. This is very important to confirm that if our catalyst has a higher rate of electron-hole combination, or does it the electron-hole combination reflex reduce when we have copper deposited on zinc ferrite. What we can see that PL basically was performed to study the characteristic of migration transfer of electron-hole pairs, and then we can see that the intensity drops when we have a copper 0.25, okay, in comparison to zinc and copper ferrite. It gives us that understanding that when we have a copper zinc ferrite formation, it does actually improve the electron hole separation. And then to further confirm the electron charge transfer, we carry out electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, and this is can be seen from here. Basically, the idea of here is to study how fast the electron is transferred from the photocatalyst to the electrode. When we have a smaller radius, for example, like copper zinc ferrite here, meaning that it is a faster transfer between electron and the from the transfer of electron between the rod and also the catalyst. So this is our copper zinc ferrite, and then when we have a copper ferrite, and then this is when we have a zinc ferrite. The smaller arc radius in EIS generally represents the higher charge transfer resistance of photocatalysts. Then we also conducted transition photocurrent. This is to measure the transport and separation rate of the photoregenerated electron hole pairs in the semiconductor-based materials. So we can see that the current density of copper ferrite and zinc ferrite are around 0.205 and 0.136 when we conduct them in visible light radiation. But when we have a copper zinc ferrite, it's actually 1.6, which is 8 to 10 times higher than copper ferrite and zinc ferrite itself. So we see that having copper zinc ferrite is actually produce a much better photocatalyst. And then this is our UV visible reflection, and then we can see
all the catalysts actually absorb light in the visible region, but zinc ferrite is less active in the visible region compared to copper ferrite. But when we have a high loading of copper ferrite, which is in this case 0.75, we can see that the absorption extended to higher wavelength. It gives us indication that there's a formation of copper oxide inside the ferrite structure, that because copper oxide has 1.1 EV, that kind of like form this heterojunction structure between copper oxide and zinc ferrite. And then this also, this is hydrogen temperature program reduction that give us more understanding on terms of the reducibility of the catalyst, and also the presence of different type of species present in our catalyst. So what we can see, zinc ferrite basically reduced through 3 stages, and then which is beginning with zinc ferrite, reduced to ferrite at 473 because of zinc oxide is present. Zinc oxide is kind of like really stable, but in the presence of zinc oxide and zinc ferrite, they allow to reduce together, and then we can see that 3 different reduction happens. But when we have copper, because copper is easily reduced, then we can see on copper ferrite, we can see peak at 239. But when we have copper zinc ferrite, the reduction peak appeared much higher temperature. But what importantly is the peak belong to copper kind of like increase as we increase the copper concentration. And then this is the morphology studies. The SEM analysis here shows that we have quite large crystallite, estimated at 2 to 3 micrometers. And the TEM analysis reveal the plane corresponds to copper zinc ferrite at 0.31, 0.82, and 0.273. And then we also have these bright fringes on our set pattern that confirm we have a high degree of crystallinity of our copper zinc ferrite. And then this is another important analysis that we conduct on XPS that tells us that the presence of element on the surface. We have ferrite, Fe2+, then we also have oxygen. But what is very important, the fact that we have our valence band position altered when we put copper zinc in ferrite. At first, our valence band position at 0.875, and then it drops to 0.279 EV. And this gives us indication that there is a reposition of valence band potential as we input or incorporate copper into zinc ferrite structure, as what we proposed in the very beginning. Now, how does it reflect on our hydrogen production? We conduct our experiment in methanol, which is as a stress sacrificial agent. So what happens is when we compare zinc ferrite, copper zinc at 0.05 of copper, 0.725 of copper, 0.75, and then copper ferrite itself, we can see there is a volcano trend. At first, zinc ferrite produced around 100 micromole per gram of hydrogen, and then when put 0.25 copper in it, we can see a drastic increase of hydrogen production. And then, but when we have a copper ferrite itself, then it drops again at around less than 100 micromole per gram of hydrogen. So this gives us information that by having copper inside the zinc ferrite, it does not only shift the valence band, shift the absorption in visible region, but also it helps to reposition the valence band position so that it will improve hydrogen production. We also test our catalyst for MB degradation just to see how does the catalyst works to remove the pollutants. And then there's one again, we can see when we compare copper ferrite and zinc ferrite itself, we have a poor degradation rate. But once we put copper in it, we can see it improves remarkably. And for 0.75 copper, it does have reduction, degradation of MB quite efficiently to give only almost 100% removal in only 120 minutes. So when we try to understand the reaction mechanism of MB degradation, we use a different type of sacrificial agent inside the solution. First, we have IPA. This IPA will be responsible to capture the whole and then TOA will help capturing the hydroxyl radicals, and the nitrogen will prevent the formation of superoxide radicals, and then we also have blend. So but after this, when we have nitrogen, interestingly, it doesn't really give much difference in terms of MB degradation, which tells us that oxygen gases, dissolved oxygen gases, is not a main oxidizing agent for MB, but instead the main oxidizing agent is our hydroxyl radicals. So when we generate electron and hole, this electron and hole will react with water to generate hydrogen radical, will be responsible to degrade our methylene blue dye. Then this is our proposed mechanism for photocatalytic hydrogen production. A, and you can see that, let me try to make it bigger. Oh, I couldn't make it bigger. So when we have our light entering our photocatalyst, the first thing that will happen is electron and hole separation, which is the electron from the valence band will be excited into the conduction band, and then while the hole here will be able to react with our methanol to produce H plus through N carbon dioxide. N carbon dioxide. This H plus will travel to our conduction band, and in which the electron that we produce will react with H plus. That can come from our methanol reaction or come from water that was splitting into H plus to produce hydrogen gas. However, when we have a degradation reaction, this is a completely two different reaction, which is in degradation of MB dyes. We have to make sure it doesn't really have to make sure the electron do the reduction, because the electron itself can react with oxygen to produce superactive species. But as proposed by our experiment or reaction mechanism, we can see that in the absence of oxygen, it does not actually reduce the ability of the photocatalyst to degrade our methylene blue. So what happens is the most important step is where the H plus or the hole will react with our water to generate these hydroxyl radicals, which is the hydroxyl radical will react with MB, and then producing multiple intermediate species until it produces carbon dioxide. So as a conclusion, what I would like to share with you is a copper dope into zinc ferrite was successfully formed via hydrothermal method. This is a very simple method, doesn't really require a lot of wet chemical reaction, and then but it gives you high conversion for hydrogen for methylene blue degradation and also hydrogen production. But the important thing is when you dope copper to zinc ferrite, you actually reduce the band gap energy and also reshuffle the band position. But when you vary the copper and zinc ratio, we actually achieve optimum copper doping on copper zinc ferrite, and then which is based on the latest expansion, we can confirm copper addition inside the crystal structure, and then this will be responsible for faster electron hole transfer. But and also very important that we don't see any visible copper oxide and zinc oxide. The presence of copper oxide and zinc oxide will be beneficial for dye degradation, but it's not going to be efficient for hydrogen production. When you have a copper dope on zinc ferrite, it also enhances the hydrogen species, which is responsible for trapping the photogenerated holes to form hydroxyl radical, which is the main species for dye degradation and also methanol decomposition. As an acknowledgement, I would like to say thank you and for my PhD student Wahid for his brilliant work. Within a year, he has published a very good journal. And then the director, this is the ABC of UBD, and then all the people that contributed, Holila that supply us with TM analysis, and Prof. Didi that gave us lots of insight and discussion for the publication of this work. So yes, for any question after this, my student Wahid will be able to answer all the questions. So I would like to give this opportunity to him so that he can practice, and I will try to answer all your questions if you have any. If not, you can always contact me through my email. hasiza.baruji@ubd.edu.in, or you can talk to my student and he will provide me my email address too. Thank you again very much. Thank you very much again to Dr. Maria and all the committees for inviting me again. I will looking forward to see you again maybe next year. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baruji, for very attractive and interesting presentations. For the next sessions, I would like to, there will be a question and answer session. So is there any question from the participants regarding what Dr. Baruji delivered a short while ago? No? Okay. Please, Isti. Ngana?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wirawan. I have one question for Ms. Bahruji. My question is the only color that can be photocatalyzed is methylene blue, or there are any special color specification for this photocatalyst? Thank you.
So the question was, is the methylene blue the only dye that can be used for testing, for photocatalytic testing? Isn't it right?
Yes, it's right.
Maybe is there any other questions?
Let me introduce myself. My name is Safa Naila from SEBELAS MARET University. And my question, please explain the mechanism of photocatalysis reaction for hydrogen production in this research. Thank you.
Photocat. Okay, the second question was the reaction mechanism for hydrogen production, right? Hydrogen production through photocatalysis. Still, maybe, probably, there are any other concerns that would like to arise in the first presentations? No? If it's not the case, but I have actually one presentation because I have Dr. Baruji mandated her PhD student to answer. This is my question is I never use impedance spectroscopy to measure the charge transfer from the catalyst. Maybe our student could explain a bit about this impedance spectroscopy for measuring the charge transfer in photocatalysis. Okay, if it's not the case, if there's no any other questions, thank you very much for your attentions, and I think I would return um, the session to the master ceremony to go to the next presenters.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my name. I would like to introduce myself. My name is S.Si. I'm the student of Dr. Hasliza Baruji. On behalf of her, I want to answer for some questions that about 3 questions or 2 questions. Okay, for the first question, it's about the methylene blue is the only one color in the experiment. Yes, this is for our experiment. It's just we tested for the one color. It's the methylene blue. We haven't tested for the another color. Maybe I think it's the interesting question. So we can use another color to compare with the methylene blue, and we can propose the mechanism. Maybe it's occur the different mechanism with the another color, like the rhodamine blue or methylene green or another color. And the second is about the how to hydrogen produce in the photocatalysis mechanism. Okay, the first step is about when the light from the visible light that it's noticed from the Dr. Hasliza Baruji go to the photocatalyst, the sample, and it will separated the electron and holes. Will excited the electron from the valency band and go to the conduction band. So the hole and stay in the hole, the hole stay in the conduction band, and the electron will go to the conduction band. So we can use the energy band gap to explain. With the higher energy band gap, the separation from the electron with the hole will hurt. But in the narrower energy band gap, the separation will easier. And the photogenerated energy move to the catalyst surface to participate in the redox reaction. The hole will generate the hydrogen with the picture that Dr. Baharuji saw, and the electron will reduce the water and H plus to go to produce the hydrogen, and the hole will, because we use the methanol as sacrificial agent, and the hole will react with the methanol and the water to produce the H plus. And H plus from the methanol reforming or in the reaction from the water, it will be produced the hydrogen. Because in our photocatalyst, it's the hydrogen production, it's not high. So we use the sacrificial agent to trap the hole and to produce the H plus. Yeah, so the H plus will be increased. The amount of H plus will be increased and will produce the hydrogen more than without we use the sacrificial agent. I think for the second question and the third question from Dr. Cipto, it's about the EIS, right, Doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the electrochemical impedance spectroscopy. In our experiment, in our research, it's not the primary data, but it's the support data. It's explained about the spiration about the for the electron and hole, that in the first the Nyquist plot, it's the describing about the spirited how electron and hole will be spirited faster or slower in the bit arc radius of the Nyquist plot. So it's indicating that the photocatalyst or the sample have the slower spiration for the electron and hole. With the smallest, we know the copper zinc ferrite has the smallest arc radius of Nyquist plot, so it explains indicating. So it's indicating that the sample have the fastest spiration and will generate the transfer of photogenerated carriers, and the processing of the light will spread faster from the valency band to conduction band for the electron. I think it's confirmed with the photocurrent transient, while the picture from the Dr. Bahluzi saw that the copper zinc ferrite has the highest photocurrent transient. So it's confirmed with the Nyquist plot, the opposite condition, while the Nyquist plot is the smallest arc radius and the photocurrent transient has the highest. So it's indicating the sample of photocatalyst have the performance to spread electron and hole faster than other samples. I think that's Dr. Cipto about the electrochemical impedance spectroscopy. In our experiment, it's just for the support data. It's not the primary. Our primary data is about the photo spectroscopy luminescence. Yeah, it's how to now. I think the concept is similar. How to know about the dispersion of electron and hole, but in the PL spectroscopy, it's about the recombination detection. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you.
I'm interested with this impedance spectroscopy. So this impedance spectroscopy would help you to understand, or would help you to, how to say that, to capture how easy or how fast the recombination between the electron and hole once the light hit the catalyst. So normally if you have like a quick combination, then you will have like lesser electron or hole transfer to the solution, right? Or
Yes,
then
right.
it will help you to delay the recombination. Is it
Yes,
true?
yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have another question from Esa. Esa, she or he, I don't know, maybe she. She asks Dr. Baruji, does the catalyst used have to contain copper, iron, and oxygen to enable the photocatalytic reactions? So, is that my did I do I give it right? So maybe Dr. Um, um, Mr. Sarifuddin, could you open the
Okay.
the meeting
Yes.
chat? Uh,
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I still don't understand about the question. It's
maybe
about
Esa, could you directly ask Mr. Sarifuddin? So, in my
okay.
understanding, is that should we have the oxide of copper or iron to be able to have a material which is active in photocatalysis? Maybe this is the question that
Okay.
she would like to address.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Okay. In our experiment, we just use the copper, iron, zinc to produce our sample, our photocatalyst. Yeah, this photocatalyst is active. For the oxygen, it's we can get the oxygen from the synthesis. Yeah, from the air in the hydrothermal method. So we can get the oxygen, so it can construct the copper ferrite oxide that contain copper, iron, and oxygen, or the zinc ferrite oxide. Is it possible for all types of catalysts? I try to understanding, but maybe about for the application, maybe for the catalyst application, another telescope application, yeah, maybe it's work. Uh, because in the hydrogen production, hydrogen oscillation, and the degradation, it's worked. I think it's possible to use this photocatalyst in another application of photocatalyst like carbon monoxide oxidation or carbon dioxide degradation. But we haven't tried about this application. Uh, I think it's interesting if there are students from SEBELAS Smart University want to collaborate with us. Yeah, it's interesting. So, or you can propose your idea, you propose your photocatalyst material with your specific application, or maybe you have the suggestion for the research. I think that's Dr. Cipto.
Yeah, we still have a few minutes left. Is there still any other questions? So if maybe I have a curiosity. Many research in photocatalysis mostly use methylene blue as a substrate, as kind of template for dye degradations. In terms of environmental protections, would it be possible as well? I'm not a photocatalytic person, but would it be also possible to degrade other types of dyes? And what is the driving force? What is the reason of, yeah, what is the driving force, or how difficult, or what is, how to say that? How difficult to what is the criteria of using the dyes? I mean, is, for example, if we know other types of dyes like Nile reds, whatever. Yeah, any other types of dyes. And for example, NIRET or malacid greens, how difficult to reduce them? Is that methylene blue the easiest substrate to perform photocatalytic tests, or if you want to have like a broader scope in this field, um, I think would be as also yeah, would be also intriguing, would be also interesting to see the performance of the prepared catalyst for other types of reactions. How do you respond this issue? Um,
Okay, thank you,
Dr.
Doctor. Okay, in our experiment, yeah, why we use only methylene blue? In our lab, we have another dye. It's like the methylene orange and methylene red, but in this condition, we just only use the methylene blue. Uh, the reason one, it's because the blue is the basic color. We know the blue is the basic color, yeah, for the all of the color. So if we use the blue and it's can degrade very well, so in another color, I think uh, it can be used with the high probability because another color maybe we contain the blue color like uh, purple maybe and the reflection of purple and the reflection of blue with the mix of color with blue. Yeah, I think it's containing the blue. And another reason it's about uh, the chemical structure of methylene blue and the using of blue dye uh, in the textile industry. It's high. So we use this color, and another researchers use this color because uh, the textile industry in the world use blue color uh, to coloring the product. It's most with the high amount. I think that's Dr. Chipsiko.
um, uh, is that this I'm really curious, is that the reduction potential of methylene blue or other types of dye that that drive people to use this methylene blue excessively in many photocatalytic reactions? Because I think it is also interesting to try other types of in fact it's in dye industry, I think um we they use like a specific molecules to give a color. For example, orange, they will provide a methyl orange, malacid green, or green. So I think it's more toward more, but I don't know. It is in my opinion. You can correct later, but it is more molecular structure define this this consideration. That's why I'm thinking why many research in photocatalysis always use methylene blue, not other types. Maybe other types, but many articles I read they use normally methylene. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there is the possibility to use another dye to research about the photo degradation. Yeah, it's still interesting. Yeah, since this research is conducted uh, s- one decade ago, but it's still interesting for now because we now in the world have the huge textile industry. So for the student, it's a good proposal to your research if you wanna investigating about the photocatalytic mechanism and how to use uh, our idea to make the world, how to um, making the environment, our environment well before. Yeah, it's interesting. I think so, Doctor.
Any questions? Yes, then thank you very much for responding um, our questions, and I hope your research progress well in the future.
Thank you very much.
And I return to the MC, I guess, for the next sessions.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Wirawan Ciptonugroho. The next session is giving certificate for Dr. Hasisa Bahuji. This is our certificate for Dr. Hasisa Bahuji, and thank you for being a first speaker in International Research Collaboration 2024. I think the next session is a presentation for the second speaker, this Dr. Wirawan, who can guide our webinar.
Okay, thank you. For the next presentation, it will be delivered. It's going to be delivered by Ms. Sausan S. Ravi. She is now a faculty member from Tisch International University, Erbil, in Iraq. Ms. Ravi received a Bachelor in Science in Biology in 1990s, and afterwards she continued to pursue Master of Science. Sorry, she received a Bachelor of Science in Biology from Baghdad University in Iraq. In 90s, I previously mentioned, and she carried on her study to pursue a Master of Science at the University Science Malaysia, Pulau Pinang, Malaysia, and accomplished her degree in 2012. From September 2021, she is assistant lecturer at this international university. Yeah, she has been around quite some time. She has been lecturer at University of Zagreb, Duhok Polytechnic University, British International Schools, and so on. Concerning her research, she performed numerous studies in the field of CO2 or carbon dioxide as extracting agents. So you might as well know that if we compress CO2 at certain condition, they call the supercritical conditions, and then CO2 behaves like fluid and gases, and it has excellent properties to do extractions. And I think she has been around in this field quite sometimes, and of course, yeah, we are looking forward to her presentations and this research collaboration festival. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Ms. Sausan Al-Rawi for her interesting lecture today. So, Ms. Al-Rawi, the floor is now yours.
You still mute, Miss?
Ms. Al-Rawi, we cannot hear your voice. Maybe are you still mute?
Hello, good
Okay,
morning.
yeah, now can clearly.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. Good morning, everyone. Hope you are having a great time like me. I am so honored and I'm so happy to join you in this event. It's a remarkable event. This is my second participation. Last year also I joined, so I am really so delighted to join you. So can I share can you please allow me to share my presentation? Can you see the slides?
Yeah, it is there.
It is there because I can't see it. So I'm not sure if it's...
You can stop your share screen and our committee will replace to share screen your presentation.
Okay, so I should stop sharing the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Let me just 1 second, please. Okay, so I stopped sharing. So if you...
Coba ditampilkan aja yang itu yang sudah dikirim itu.
So previously, my previous publications were into supercritical extraction method, which is like the carbon dioxide, using carbon dioxide gas. The carbon dioxide gas is a very good solvent in extracting bioavailable compounds, which can be used in different sectors, even like in as a food additive or like addition into its application in maybe testing. I tested it on treating cancer cells also. So is the screen shared or not yet? I have also a few publications regarding the... So can I have access to the PowerPoint so I can move the slides, please? Yes, hello.
Your file is different with your file in this morning you shared to me.
Sorry,
Your file is different.
my file?
You shared to me with the title The Prevalence of Irritable
Yes,
IBS.
actually, this is what I wanted to talk about. So usually my research is about carbon dioxide and about the test of those remarkable bioactive compounds in treating diseases and treating, for example, cancer cells. But this time I thought, since our audience and participants are majority students, so I thought to share something we have done on identifying some like some factors that can affect our student academic performance and our students' life. So I wanted to share with you my research. It's a recent research I have done on testing the gut and brain relationship or link, how our food and how our diet, how our what we eat, what we consume can affect our brain, our life also. So this is my it's a bit maybe different. It's not into like testing chemical compound, but I thought like our student and our participants needs to be enlightened about how they can improve their academic performance, or maybe their life is like quality of life by the choice of food, and how the choice of food, how also their daily life routine can affect their academic performance by maybe getting stress or maybe other factors like anxiety. But so can I, okay, that's good.
You want to share by yourself? This
Sorry?
is the right title?
Yes, the prevalence of irritable bowel syndrome and its association remarks on undergraduate student. But okay, that's good. So my name is Sausan Arawi. I am from biology department of Tishk International University. Again, I cannot control the slide. So, okay. Can I move to the next slide? So in this presentation, we are going to cover what has interested us in doing this research, some theories about this research, and what did we find, our data, collected data, and our conclusion. Can I move to the next slide? I think I can't control the slide. So our undergraduate students are considered a very important part in our university and around the world, but they are a vulnerable group as they suffer from various health conditions, sometimes like eating disorders. Some of them, they suffer from obesity and anorexia. And some of them also, they suffer from mental conditions like depression, anxiety, and stress. And most of these conditions, it has a link with their academic or their study, their presence in the university. These problems also were found to be linked to IBS. IBS, it's irritable bowel syndrome, which has been proven. Can I please move to the next slide? Which has been proven to have a remarkable effects on our life. So it's a chronic disease of the lower gastrointestinal tract. It causes several pain, abdominal part that can affect individual quality of life and can also cause and affect their the students quality of life, their emotional and psychiatric comorbidity. Okay. So okay. So okay. Next, please. So from the literature review, we have found that IBS it's affect majority of students around the world, and it's considered the second most common reason to stay at home after, of course, cold and COVID, as we all know. So this is why, like, an enlightening is really needed, and it can be easy conducted with questionnaires to talk to the student, identify their conditions. Now, these, we call them psychosocial questionnaires, are independent and they are considered very helpful to identify those subjects who are at risk for those psychological disorders. So little data has been found regarding this physical and mental health that's affecting the academic performance of the student. Next, please. So from the literature review, we have identified, or we have found that students with IBS, they have higher level of anxiety, psychological problems, especially medical student or biological student, nursing student. So the IBS symptoms also affected their life quality, their daily activities, study time, because due to the pain, to the other factors, they might be unable to attend the classes. Their sleep pattern will be affected, relationships, even diet, and most probably what we care about is their academic performance. Next, please. So, especially in our area, we couldn't find data or publications regarding the effect of IBS on the undergraduate student performance. And this is why we thought that it's worth to be investigated. And we wanted to see the link between this IBS syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, and the anxiety level, quality of life, and the academic performance of our undergraduate student. Next, please. So the methodology of our research consisted of 3 different questionnaires. The sample size was obtained by using the G-Power program with the following criteria: medium effect size, which is Cohen's d, power set at 95 with an alpha at 0 or 5%. This study questionnaire will consist of 2 independent questionnaires, which is the Rome 3 questionnaire and Birmingham IBS symptoms questionnaire. Another questionnaire we used is the anxiety questionnaire from Beck, and it is very famous and independent questionnaire. And the student quality of life was assessed using the IBS quality of life questionnaire. About 357 students from the university participated in a cross-sectional study. Next, please. So in this questionnaire, the Birmingham questionnaire, or it is related to the IBS, and it contains 11 items, were scored from 0 to 6, from the lowest to the highest. The Rome criteria contains 10 items with answers on an ordinal scale and individual frequency threshold for each question. Also from the lowest until the highest, or up to the highest, quality of life questionnaire, which is considered as a highly responsive questionnaire that measures the quality of life of our students. And the IBS quality of life consists of 34 items with a 5-point Likert type. So the questionnaire were rated as the most valid and reliable quality of life. Can you please next? So Beck anxiety questionnaire is very known around the world, and it's considered one of the best anxiety inventory that can be identified people with anxiety, and especially students. They are suffering from anxiety due to their routine life, exams, and the amount of effort they need to put every day on a regular basis. So we use this questionnaire due to its popularity among the international society. The scores were divided into 3 categories. The first category considered a slight anxiety if they achieved from 0 to 21 scores, mild anxiety, 22 to 35, and severe anxiety, which is if it was higher than 36, and the max score of 63. So next, please. Next, please. So the summary of our finding, like we chosen different departments so that we can see which department they are having the highest effect of or link between our gut and their mental performance. So nursing department participated medical analysis, petroleum department, banking department, information technology department. Students were from first year and second year. Frequency distribution of GPA were also collected and identified. So majority of the students were having CC. Those are the students with IBS, like irritable bowel syndrome, and the least number were with AA. Next, please. So the back results showed that students with a slight anxiety were 25%, while 34% of students, almost 35% of students, they were having a high anxiety level. The females, they were suffering from high anxiety level more than the males. Actually, they were double the number. So like females, they were known for their sensitivity maybe, and they care a lot about their marks, scores, their study. So this is why they suffered more than the males student. Next, please. Now, we found similar results around the world, especially from Saudi Arabia and China. Next, please. So Saudi Arabia, we're having 50%, and China, we're having 70%. Our results showed 60% of students, they were having anxiety that's connected to their like a food diet, which was connected to their academic performance. So the IBS prevalence of undergraduate students also were found low in Taiwan, in France and Peru, but the highest level, like from our literature review, were found for Bangladesh and Egypt, which was the highest, almost 40% in Bangladesh, and almost 30% in Egypt. Puerto Rico also, they were having 30%. What is amazing, like majority of students, especially with those high number of prevalence of IBS, they were all suffering from anxiety, from stress, and from a bad quality of life. Next, please. So the quality of life mostly are related to their social relationship, emotional well-being, quality of the environment, also personal safety, their financial materials well-being, and their work, and of course, their health. So significant positive correlation between level of anxiety and quality of life was identified. Also, negative correlation was found between students suffering from IBS and the quality of life and having a family history of IBS. So actually, our genetics also play a significant role of having IBS, which is, like we said, the IBS is really affecting our academic performance. The also correlation analysis also showed significant negative correlation between IBS and the symptoms awareness and the level of anxiety. Majority of the students, they don't know this irritable bowel syndrome or those symptoms that can affect their academic performance, their quality of life. So usually they think they are maybe having a low level of understanding, or maybe they are not as smart as their counterparts, but actually their health is really affecting their academic performance. Next, please. Especially anxiety, like anxiety affected the academic performance. So student with CC, 56% of students, they were having irritable bowel syndrome. Like student with BB, 37% of them, they were having irritable bowel syndrome, while student with AA, only 6%, they were having irritable bowel syndrome. Next, please. Now, food performance, we all know that diets affect really the academic performance and our health. So a great link were found between our gut, because it is where the food or our diet and the academic performance. So food, like fast food, really affects our academic performance and our irritable bowel syndrome. But we found that students, they have, majority of them, they have interest or preferences for home cooked food. Only 22% of the students, they have prevalence or preferences for fast food. This is maybe the reason why we found only 60% of our students, they have irritable bowel syndrome, which was correlated to their routine or lifestyle, we call them a quality of life. Next, please. Also, their preference for how the food was cooked was totally different between males and females. So males, they preferred the food to be grilled more than females, and also they prefer animal fat, majority of students, or fried with butter. 50% of the students, they preferred the olive oil, or almost 60%, they preferred vegetable oils, fried food. Next, please. So their knowledge about irritable bowel syndrome was not that good. So majority of them, they didn't hear about irritable bowel syndrome and its linked to their academic performance. So maybe this is why most of them, they prefer the cooked or fried food. And as we all know that oil or fried food is very bad for health, and it can affect greatly our academic performance. Next, please. So our conclusion based on the collected data, there are several factors can affect the academic performance of undergraduate students and their development. Students suffer from anxiety and stress will affect their quality of life and eventually their academic performance due to their health condition and the link between those psychological problems and our gut health or brain performance. The IBS in undergraduate students could be caused by diet, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, which could be occurred due to many things happened during the student life. So this condition not only affecting their academic performance, but also affecting their social lives and their characteristics. Next, please. So the implication of the result of our research are many. So one of them is the factors and symptoms of the disease among the student as well as the community. So for us, this is the first study that was conducted in our region in Kurdistan area, and also it showed how the food preferences affected the academic performance of students. This research also could have been duplicated in other countries, which the data are missing, to show how the food and how the irritable bowel syndrome can affect the performance of students and their quality of life. So those are some references that we use in our research. Thank you so much for your listening. This paper has been published. So if you are interested in finding more information about maybe the questionnaires, the available questionnaires, the questions, you can find the research in my Google Scholar. It was published this year during January. You can find all the questionnaires that we used in conducting this research, details of the result, details of the discussion, everything. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope this will give you some, maybe a glimpse of how our student might suffer or why their academic performance may be affected by their diet, by their food, or maybe by the surrounding environment. And if you have any questions, please, I would be happy to answer your questions.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for insightful
Maybe
topics.
thank you. Maybe it's a bit different from our usually most of the research are on chemical test, or so I thought maybe we share something would be a bit different and can also show how our students are getting affected by maybe other factors, not only surrounding or what they are used to.
Yeah. So of course, open for the question. I think we have already few people raising their hands. It means that it's a good sign that
very nice.
maybe they want to know what is going on with with the mentality issues. Especially most of us, I guess, they are undergraduate students, so maybe they want to know more. Okay, we can start from Denanda Nazla. Please,
Yes.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wirawan, and also it's very interesting presentation actually regarding mentality and our performance as undergraduate students. So I have two questions basically. The first one,
Yes.
I want to know like how many respondents that you used during this experiment. That the first one. The second one, you also mentioned about the first year and also the second year. And then how about the third year or maybe the last stage of undergraduate student? Are they having the IBS syndrome higher, or how is that possibly about the third year or maybe the last stage of undergraduate student? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. That's a very good question. Actually, the number of participants, we used a software called G-Power. So based on the number of the university that we conducted the research in, so the number of students were 357. So this should be like if you want to conduct a research, you have to use an app to calculate the sample size in this kind of research. So you cannot just choose any random number of participants or sample size. It should be showing a ratio between the total number of that institute and your sample of study. So this is the first. Regarding your second question, actually, this research has been conducted because usually students, when they are entering in the first year is they just joined the university, so they are not adapted very well to the university. They just came from high school, so they feel more stress, more anxiety. Second year also, it's a transition year, so they also they are just, maybe they are better from the first year, so they can adapt easily, but not as year 3 and 4. So this is why we thought that we want to do on year 1, because we noticed the first year of student, like you, maybe my colleagues, the lecturer maybe agree with me. Like in the first year, you will notice a lot of students after the second year, their academic performance might be reduced or maybe degraded. So when they are entering the university, they are like thinking, because they came from a strong like academic background, but once they start starting a new life in the dorm, so their food is not like a good quality or like a home cooked food, and also the new environments like affecting them. So it has this effect on their diet, which affects their academic performance. So comparing them to year 3 and 4, year 3 and 4, they were doing better than them. So we chose only 1 and 2.
Thank you so much for the explanations.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your question. So maybe
Okay, my name is Anna Malida from SEBELAS University. My questions are, the first is, why is anxiety an interesting thing to study in this research? And the second, are there other problems that can be studied with this method? Thank you.
okay, sorry, can you repeat the first question, please? Sorry. Hello?
For the first question is, why is anxiety an interesting thing to study in this research? And the second, are there other problems that can be studied with this method?
Thank you so much for your question. Actually, in recent years, like anxiety has become a very popular or a common disorder among all population around the world. So the anxiety may be caused by different reasons due to their maybe factors in the environment, but specifically student, before exams, you can feel them, they are getting stressed, they are getting losing their maybe interest to study. They feel they are worn out because of anxiety. So we've noticed like a lot of students before or during exams, before the exams, they really feeling anxious and they can't cope with their like time, their study time affected, sleeping time. Majority of them, they are suffering from insomnia due to their stress. So this is why we thought to study not only anxiety, stress, and actually the quality of life, since they are all related to each other. And regarding your second question, sorry, your second question?
Are there other methods? Are there other problems that can be studied with this method?
With, with this method, you mean a questionnaire method? You mean a questionnaire?
Apakah bisa untuk
Are there other problems that can be studied with this method?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Actually, using a questionnaire, like our method is by questionnaire, which was actually the questionnaire on spot. It's a cross study. So we gathered the student in a hall and we distributed the questionnaires. And then the student has to answer the questions in the questionnaires with a consent. The consent so that we make sure that they agree on answering the questions. So this was number one. Number two, there are plenty of problems we can study with the questionnaire. For example, like we said, stress, maybe like other health problems, anorexia also. Maybe the consumption of some students, they are taking some supplement in order to keep them awake, to improve their study. So I think all these problems can be identified and can be studied with these kind of methods. Even their like social relationship with their peers or with the classmate also can be studied. A lot of research can be done with these kind of questionnaires, but the important thing is to find a reliable questionnaire. We can also develop our questionnaire, but if you develop a questionnaire, you have to find a committee that will review the questionnaire, review the question, and accredit it so that it will be more reliable.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanation.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for your question.
Okay, my name is Irfan from SEBELAS MARET University. Please explain the indicator of quality of life related to academic performance and what are the requirements for good performance in this research?
Sorry, can you please talk slowly and one by one? The first question?
Okay, please explain the indicator of quality of life related to academic performance and what are the requirements for good performance in this research?
Quality of life. You're asking about quality of life, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Quality of life, it means the student quality of life, like how do you, for example, evaluate your life quality? Are you from financially, like I showed you in one of the slides, quality of life, it's related to many factors. One of them, your health, your financial, like your social relationship, for example, also your problems you encounter. So the quality of life, some students, they have very low quality of life because, you know, like students, they are coming from different backgrounds. So some of them, they might not, they don't all have the same financial support. They don't have the same parents, supported parents. Also, even their social relationship. Some of them are introverts, some of them they are socially friendly, some of them they have all, especially now with the new social media. So let me just, okay. Requirement for good education performance.
Okay, my name is Diana Indonesia.
Okay.
My question
So,
is, explain why this research is only for undergraduates and describe the outcome if it were conducted for other than undergraduates. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. Actually, these questions are important for undergraduate students because it can help the lecturer to know how to deal with those students. So maybe like also enlightening the importance of good diet in the, because it's affect the link between the academic performance and what we eat. As we all know, eating healthy food can improve the performance of the brain. So this is number one. Eating healthy foods not only can improve the performance of the brain, but also our anxiety. We all know now, I think everyone knows how sugar can affect your mood because it spikes your insulin, right? And when your insulin spikes, it will be just for temporary time. And then immediately, if it goes down, your mood will be swing. So having bad quality of food or too much sugar can have a swing mood. So it will affect the study time. It will affect also taking too much sugar, might affect also the sleeping pattern. So actually, the food can really affect our routine time, which will affect the study time and our daily routine in the university. So this is why it is important to be conducted for university students, because it's an important time for the student. They are like trying to learn methods before they enter their career or their life career. This is number one. Number two, it's a transition period, or it's a transition phase between the let's call it adulthood and the phase before the adulthood. So it is really important in shaping our personality. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
By the way, and it's not only for undergraduate. Yes, we can do it for postgraduate, for even for high school also. So a requirement for good education performance. There are now, if we can learn a few methods in order to reduce anxiety, for example, or relief in stress. Like as I mentioned, having good quality of food can really improve our mood. And when our mood is improved, definitely our academic performance will be improved significantly, including those like green leaves, green vegetables, staying away from fried food, and staying away from highly sugar based food also can really affect our educational performance, as I think Mr. Irfan question was. So true, the food has a great impact on our academic performance, our mood also, our quality of life, despite of the other factors that affect quality of life, but food has a great effect on the quality of life. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you for your answer.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
There's still any other questions? Still have plenty of time. Maybe I'm a bit curious. Will you, in principle, you had conducted this study. related to the, I would say, more or less mental health of the quality of mental health, not only mental but physical, probably as well, of the students. So how would this in the future affect the policy uh, of the institute you are working on? Would it change the policy, or would it maybe is there any, what is it, actions from the institute or from the university that might be implemented after reading your the result you produce, or and what is your next step? I mean, you have conducted this study. Would you also suggest the study to your sub superordinate, your, I don't know, the leaders of the university, and yeah, that's that's my curiosity.
Thank you so much for your question. Actually, it's a very good question. Actually, like even me, I think one of the like most important, because since food and diets really affect student academic performance and their quality of life, I think students should be like enlightened, and they should be aware of their choices of food. So for policymakers, I think maybe the cafeterias or the canteens in the university should think of more healthy options instead of having all this junk food like chocolate, biscuits, soda, and other beverages. Like those beverages that's filled with sugar really affect the academic performance in so many ways, because there is a strong link between sugar and IBS. So if IBS also, it's like if student with IBS, they are really suffering from bad condition, pain, even their like health is affected. So they cannot be, or they won't be able to study. So I think policymakers should think of improving the quality of food in the university. Also, like I know that because I lived in Malaysia for so many years. So I think the culture of Asian, like, and even in our country, we all love the eat of fried food. So fried food really considered one of the bad type of food, which affects a lot our health, and again it will affect the quality of student life of student. So this is regarding your first part of policymakers. So I hope the policymakers or the heads in the universities can really start to implement like the requirement of providing only healthy food. This is number one. Number two, what can we do? What is our mission, or is there something else for the future? Yes, actually now I am conducting another research also related to the academic performance of the student. It's about the consumption of supplement. Like some students, they eat bad quality of food, but they take supplement. But even with the consumption of supplement, they don't see the effect. They don't get the effect. So we will blame the brand, or we will blame maybe other factors. But actually, consuming bad quality of food might prevent the absorption of supplement. This is what most of the people don't know. Like if you take a supplement with, for example, bad quality of food, the supplement will not be absorbed. So you will not get any benefits from those supplements. So I think healthy, and sometimes the time when you are taking those supplements, how you are taking these supplements. So this is my next research. I know, like, I'm interested on studying like the factors that affect in the academic performance of student. But this, I just wanted to say, it's not affecting my other interest in studying biological therapeutic properties, again, of food. I have other research regarding the biological effects of antibiotic effects of some natural product, herbs, plants. So because it's all matters, they are all connected, whether you are taking supplement or whether you are taking natural product, herbs, or maybe, as we all know, spices has a great effect on our like health and mid-gut. So they are all connected. So I am moving in both sides, testing biological effects and at the same time testing student performance with maybe the consumption of food, the supplement, and other factors. So this is what is next.
Yeah, thank you for insightful answers.
Thank you so
And I
much
hope-
for your questions.
Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt you, but again, if anyone is interested in the questions of the research or the questionnaires, they can find it. Because the research is already published online, so you can find it. But the title for the presentation a bit switched. So, but if you want it, you can go to my Google Scholar with my name, Sausan S. Al-Rawi, Tishk International University. You will find the paper and you can find all the questionnaires, all the tools or instruments used in this research.
Nice. Thank you, Ms. Arawi, for the presentations today. I think I would. Okay. Dr. Maria Ulfa would have or would like to ask something, maybe.
No, it's nice presentation.
Thank you
Ms.
so much.
Malcolm. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maria. I am so honored and delighted to join you. It is really a great event, and sharing different ideas, different research really can add some, just like sitting on a table of different types of food. Some of them are green, some of them are cooked, some of them are fried. So having different ideas also will kind of improve our understanding, and at the same times maybe give us some like new ideas to implement and carry.
Thank you very much. No problem.
Thank you so
Rephrase your idea. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Is there any questions? If not the case, then give applause to Ms. Hasan Al-Rawi, and maybe I will give the next session to the MC.
The next session is giving the token of appreciation to Dr. Hasan Al-Rawi virtually. Thank you, Dr. Sausan Al-Rawi, for being our speakers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
The next session is presentation from Dr. Nurlida Osman. Please, Dr. Retnat Irawan, to guide this session.
Yeah. Yes, the next sessions will be a presentation from Dr. Norlida Othman. Dr. Othman, she is a manager, an educator, so it means that she has been, or she has in the academia and the professional as well, doing these two sides of professions at the same time. And then until now, she is a nurse unit manager at the Epworth Richmond Hospital. Yeah, I think without further ado, I would welcome Dr. Othman for delivering a presentation in this in this sharing event. Please, Dr. Othman.
Thank you, Dr. Wirawan. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, your voice is clear.
Okay, good. Let me share my screen. Assalamualaikum. A very good morning, I believe morning in Indonesia and afternoon in Melbourne. Thank you very much. I felt humble with the introduction. Thank you for inviting me to speak in this excellent online conference. Greetings to the Honorable Chairperson, Dr. Maria Ulfa, Moderator Dr. Wirawan Ciptonogro, and distinguished speakers and all participants that I humbly respected. My name is Norlida Othman, and I'm a nurse unit manager, as mentioned earlier on, from Epworth Richmond Hospital in Melbourne, within the state of Victoria, Australia. It is my pleasure to share and create awareness about what we do in CSSD within the healthcare in providing safety to patients. I know this presentation is slightly different from the rest of the participants. And I know this is a chemistry kind of department, but nevertheless, it has got relation to chemistry and all other aspects, what we do in the healthcare system. First and foremost, I would like to introduce you about Epworth Healthcare. Just a quick one for the benefit who do not know about Epworth. It was established by Minister Reverend William Palamontine in 1920, and generous donors like Sir Aaron Danks and Fred Cato, to name a few, have made the establishing of this hospital possible. Over the years, Epworth keep on expanding due to ongoing generous donors that is very passionate in giving back to the community. So we have reached to the 104 years mark of establishment of Epworth Healthcare. It's not something very new. We have more than 8 campuses located all around Metro Melbourne and regional area like Geelong. We had just marked, as I mentioned, our 104 years. Epworth Healthcare is not only the largest private hospital in Victoria, but in Australia. Epworth Richmond campus is one of the largest campus, which have 32 operating theatre and 700 patients bed. This is where I'm working currently as the department head for CSSD loan. I have a total number of 90 staff working under my charge. And we are proud of our achievement, which include being excellent innovator in healthcare with pioneering various achievements and establishments such as the first above ground radiotherapy center in Australia, that is back then, and being the first open heart surgery facility in a private hospital in Victoria, first private emergency department in Victoria, first private hospital group in Australia to become a teaching hospital, first private hospital in Australia to establish an intensive care unit, first private hospital to have the first robotic assisted surgery in Australia. And also on top of that, Epworth operates under its own Act of Parliament, the Epworth Foundation Act of 1980. And recently we became the first in Victoria to use surgical robot to remove pancreatic tumor. And one of the orthopedic surgeons had done about 1,000 surgical cases for hip and knee replacement using Mako robotic within 5 years. Before I proceed further, just a brief geographical knowledge where we are for those benefits for those who have not been to Australia before. So Australia is covered by 7 states and 1 territory. The Australian territory, or here, is called ACT, it's the capital city of Australia. So we are made up of Western Australia, where you're very familiar with Perth. Northern Territory, which is closest to Indonesia island, and then you're very familiar with Darwin. South Australia will be Adelaide. Queensland will be the Gold Coast. New South Wales is Sydney, where it's residing. Victoria, Melbourne is where we are, and Tasmania, Hobart is another famous place. Epworth Richmond is situated on Bridge Road at the fringe of a Melbourne CBD area. And to look in the world map, Australia is a continent itself located at the southern hemisphere, known as Oceania, neighboring country with New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Solomon Island, and few others islands. We even have a desert, which is known as the Great Australian Desert. In fact, the Great Australian Desert is the 4th largest desert in the world by area after the Antarctica, Arctic, and Sahara. So, all right, back to Epworth CSSD. Our CSSD is supporting 32 operating theater and situated on level 3. So CSSD is an acronym for Central Sterilizing Services Department. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. So this is the best time for me to introduce in CSSD. CSSD is the heart of the hospital, which embedded deep inside the building within the operating theater, very often either at the back or basement of the building. Just like the heart of the human being, it is hidden and yet its presence is significant for the viable of the surgery and health and life. Often the people that work in CSSD is the unsung hero of the surgical team. Without CSSD, all reusable medical devices, also known as RMD, will not be able to reprocess to be used on patient. All reprocessing will be bounded by standards, and we apply Spalding classification as guidelines. CSSD reprocessing center can be either in-house, that is within hospital, or outsourced to third party. So you must be wondering what happened if any one of you have been for surgery or has got a loved one to be on surgery, having a surgery. So what actually happened to those instrumentation? How is it being dealt with? So this is very important. That's why I said we are the heart of the hospital. First, in this presentation, I will introduce CSSD processes, challenges, reprocessing of inorganic nanoparticles, RMDs, the impact of single-use nanoparticles, RMDs, and part 2 will be the study on foreign body that left in tray post-sterilization, which I did in year 2016, the impact of CSSD and end-user decision. This will bring you to look at the process, at the CSSD process link, which you have. The patient is actually the center of this whole link. And what do? We do is that once the patient use the reusable medical devices, return to the contamination area for the contamination process to make sure that it's clear from any bioburden. Inspect and wrapping area again, but the instrument technician will need to make sure that all instruments, every part is clear and no bioburden presence at all. After that, it will be sent to the sterilization area where the killing effect will take place, and the out to storage area dispatch out to theater or any other department. So in the contamination room, we have a relationship with chemistry as well. So the type of chemical used during this process is very vital because we need to choose what kind of detergent which we are going to use it that has got effect and assist in removing or killing of the microorganism. So usually we use a mild alkaline and also neutral chemical. We also use enzymatic for breaking down any proteinaceous so that to make it easier in the cleaning process. We use phosphoric acid mainly for stripping biofilm around the chamber because the presence of biofilm is actually harboring microorganism, which eventually, if we do not strip it, it will drop, it will dislocate it into the trays which will be used on patients. So that's what we do not want to happen. And the drying agent is a surfactant to assist in drying of the instruments because towards the end of the cleaning process coming out from the washer disinfector, that is the machine, it must be completely dry. And then we also have lubrication to make sure that the surface of the instrumentation is maintained and promote passivation layer for the surface of the instrumentation. And after that, there's a different type of sterilization process and it's sterilant. This is something when we go into sterilization. So the most common one we use is a steam sterilization under pressure. It is safe, efficient, and economy because all you need to do is to have water and heat to produce a steam. And steam under pressure is actually the one that is doing all the killing of the microorganism that includes bacteria, spores as well. Dry heat process, mainly used for any eye surgical instruments. The next one is the low temperature sterilization. We divide it into two, hydrogen peroxide in a plasma state and hydrogen peroxide in a vaporized state. Then we have the periacetic acid. We have the ethylene oxide, ETO, which is very commonly used for anything that is heat sensitive. So ethylene oxide in Australia is banned in our hospital. So only big manufacturing company we can have this ethylene oxide to provide a service for all healthcare to have very highly sensitive heat item to be processed. And then next we have irradiation. We are using gamma ray, and ozone is something I must say it's not new, but it's been introduced in US, but certainly it's not yet popular over Southeast Asia, Pacific Asia, and down here. And formaldehyde, as I'm pretty sure you know about formaldehyde. The common sterilant that we use are steam, just to recap again. Now, the material compatibility has been very challenging issue in general. Mostly any product to be used on patient invasively, besides surgical instruments, mostly made of materials that may be sensitive to chemical or high temperature sterilization process. The item can either melt if exposed to high temperature. Composition, such shape and thickness may be altered as well. So that is the most difficult that we have to deal with when a product that's made of nanoparticles and very highly sensitive. So in this nanoparticle and its effect, this is a study done by Halim et al. Showing various nanoparticles that can affect patient care. As a CSSD department, we are inevitably involved in understanding the particles that may impact reprocessing for patient users. The breakdown of nanoparticles showing the wide usage medical field. It is also important to take note as a user and service provider to collaborate to complete the loop. Common issue is when the item developed for patients, but the instruction for use is not compatible to some reprocessing. And mostly these items are made as single use that has impact to the environment as well. And so the challenges we face in reprocessing sensitive is various methods globally, which I would like to share. So the methods are filtration. Filtration is using a filter that is as fine and is much finer than a virus. And autoclaving, irradiation, formaldehyde treatment, ethylene oxide treatment, gas plasma method, hydrogen peroxide. I just like to give a little bit of a note here. Ethylene oxide treatment, hence it is good to or is compatible to very highly sensitive heat item. It also, if it's not treated properly, that means it needs to be aerated after it's been exposed. The item needs to be aerated for more than 3 days before it can be used on patient. So this method will take a longer time. So that's the reason why it's only used by the manufacturing big company. So because there are limited ways of reprocessing due to its complexity, the solution for most manufacturers is to have it as a single use. So the effect is that when the item is subject to steam sterilization process, because of the sensitivity, it actually can alter the stability, the zeta potential, average particle size, and the polydispersity index. So, and then for the radiation, it also can affect the stabilizing materials located on the surface of the nanoparticles. A lot of nanoparticles product, used on patient invasively. So if these metal nanoparticles after autoclaving may also alter the shape or the size from 2 nanomillimeter to 5 nanomillimeter. So to circumvent this problem, most manufacturers will end up using a single-use product. So these are one of the example picture that heat-sensitive reusable medical devices damage post-steam sterilization. So this is one of those material that not supposed to be steamed, but due to operator errors, has subjected to a steam process and is really out of shape. The original shape is a real nice cylindrical shape. And here another one. This is the what do you call it, as the GPS GPS probe. This is used in the robotic surgery. Because it's highly sensitive, again, wrong operator errors, has been subject to heat steam sterilization, henceforth it's melting. This part is all melting. So each of these costs about more than 10,000. So that's the problem that we are having currently now. This is an incompatibility to the reprocessing. So the effect from not able to reprocess, remember just I said about the single use item because of the sensitivity. So if the item has not been used on patient but is dropped and all contaminated while surgery, open but not used, we cannot reprocess those instrumentation, those items. Each item sometimes can fetch to about 5,000. One piece of item, instruments that are used on patient can cost up to more than 5,000. And if they are not careful, they drop or they open accidentally, we cannot reprocess. And that cost will have to be absorbed. So, and also on top of that, delay in surgery when item not available also potentially can impact on patient. Surgery cancel if item not available at all. So this is about single-use item. So it's again, single-use item create a lot of the kind of problem is that waste management. So how much waste do Australian hospital produce? Clinical waste produced by between public and private hospital in Australia is more than 42,000 tons a year, excluding dialysis clinic and veterinary, and is still on the rise currently. So the global waste index in year 2020 indicate US is the largest waste producer, while Australia is in 24th position out of 36 countries surveyed. Where does it all go to for in Australia? We incinerate first, we treated the waste, the medical product waste, and then we go into landfill. So part 2, what happened if foreign body, inorganic or organic product found in sterilized tray and application? Usually in the operating theater, if they find something that is not belonging to the trays or something like melted pan, for example, or suture. Suture is the material that they use to sew the tissues together. So when they find all this material in the trays, immediately they will reject the trays and then it will get sent back to CSSD for reprocessing. So the implication to the department will be that we are absorbing the cost, because the cost of man hours, cost of utilities, cost of the utilization, consumables, everything else. And some of the costs also will be passed on to the patient because of prolonged anesthesia that will be causing a risk to the patient. And then and sometimes surgery cancel. So these are the impact if foreign body found in the trays. Because of this implication for patient safety, hence the study was done to find out if the foreign body is free from any microorganism, having it gone through the reprocessing or sterilization. So we did a study and we used a 3 sample, which is commonly used in operating theater or commonly found. So we used the monofilament suture, organic material suture like silk, braided suture, and also our hair. So our hair is quite common, right? Because you can't stop your hair from dropping, especially during the surgery. So these are the things that we want to know, whether the presence of this common foreign body, will it kill or will there be any microorganism left after it's being subject to sterilization? So just a close-up view of silk suture. This is made from the silkworm. So, and then this is the nylon monofilament. It's a single strand. So we've got no issue with this because there's no way that this is inorganic. So there's no way that microorganism can survive. And what happened to the samples? So the samples was used in surgery, after which we retrieved the sample and we put into the process of the usual process of decontamination, except for hair. We exclude hair because hair can happen anytime. All right, it's not necessary during the surgery. It's not necessary during packing, during the checking in the CSSD. It can also happen during surgery. So we put that as a side. We did not put through the hair through washer disinfectant. Then the sample, the artifact. So again, sorry, just a little bit of showing this what you call cross section of the silk suture, and this is a cross section of the hair. So this is the hair which is commonly found. If that's the reason why we put on cap in the clean room area, because to prevent hair from dropping. So subsequently, let's see what's the method. So the method we use is that the 3 artifacts, that is the hair, the monofilament suture, and the silk suture, were placed in a METHYLENE solution with a 10 10 to a power of 8 colony forming units per millimeter with Staphylococcus aureus. This is a bacteria solution. So we create 2 samples each. One is for control, the other one is for reprocessing. So the samples all we dip into tryptic soy broth, which is made of soya bean, casein digest medium, which is general purpose liquid enriched medium used in the qualitative procedures for the sterility test. It is a nutritious medium that will support the growth of a wide variety of microorganisms. After which the one of the sample as a control, the other sample we put into this steripil. We pack them up, seal them, and then we will put into the sterilizing together with the rest of the load into the sterilizer. So the sample is actually emulating the same load type, yeah. So what happened in the sterilization process, because it's supposed to have the killing effect. So remember just I was telling you about the steam sterilizer. So the parameter for the steam sterilizer has got a temperature range of 134 degrees centigrade to 136 degrees centigrade. And the pressure at that time during this period is going to be 204 to 221 kilopascal. So the holding time here is 4 minutes. So this is the beginning of the process. The killing effect here will take slowly, gradually, and when reached to the holding stage, it's supposed to kill all microorganisms, including spore-forming bacteria. Once the 4 minutes is over, and then the temperature will drop and the cooling effect will take place. By then, during this period, we are for sure that the instrumentation or the loads are sterilized and free from any presence of microorganism. So post-sterilization result, we found that the incubated one, the control that which is not subject to sterilization, we culture them, incubate them, and all produce positive for suture, nylon, and hair. At the 24 hours, again, within that 24 hours sterilized, we noticed that there's no growth. After 48 hours, still no growth for the 3 samples, and after 1 week, there's still no growth. So that means the sterilization process is successful. So there's a low probability, very low. So the result, the summary of it is that no growth from all 3 samples, which is very highly contaminated with microorganism and subject to sterilization process, and is proof that it kills all microorganisms, including the spores. So there's a very low probability of any microorganism will survive the treatment of decontamination to sterilization. So the decontamination process, we use the right chemical, is one of the initial important aspects in reprocessing. Exposing to sterilant, which is steam, is commonly used and proven successful result as well. So we are very, happy with the evidence base, so that we can assist, so that we can assist the hospital or the management team to decide whether to discard this tray, not to be used on patient, or we can continue using the tray. So this will give them a little bit of assurance that if they found any artifact in the trays and gone through the process of sterilization, it is safe for patient use. So type of materials used to be reprocessed is not all inorganic material compatible, that what we mentioned earlier on. Just to recap from earlier slides, we need to be mindful what and how we develop and design material to be used for patient invasively. That includes the university and then the research using chemical or chemistry or nanoparticle. So think about the impact later on. If you're creating something, create something that will be beneficial for the environment as well. So by not creating more waste that can impact globally. So I'm speaking from from the user perspective as well. So really, we really need a further research and development in producing medical devices for patient use, which can be reprocessed in CSST without altering the state of the product that can result risk to the patient. This can also lead to a sustainability of carbon, environmental, and ecological footprint in the future. With that, I end my presentation, and these are part of my Epworth Richmond staff. They are all my unsung heroes. Say hello to everyone. I wish to express thanks and gratitude to the organizer and committee and all those involved in making this event successful. Thank you once again. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Othman, for interesting presentations. So next, we are going to the Q&A sessions. Is there any Fareza?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wirawan. Good afternoon, Dr. Othman, and good morning to everyone else. I'm just curious on one of the methods that you mentioned earlier. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of them is irradiating the tools with gamma rays. So I have two questions, maybe related to that. Number one is, does irradiated tool emits radiation later on, and what happens if it undergoes multiple irradiating process? And then number two, is there like a limit on how many times a medical device can be used after sterilization process? Thank you very much.
All right, for your first question about irradiation gamma ray, so that is a process which is not done in CSST, but certainly is done by a third party, which will have a big facilities. And as you know, the radium needs to be kept under pool under the water. Okay, so the process of the radiation is actually they are denaturing any of the the cell of the microorganism. So when they denature the cell of the microorganism, especially the DNA, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, it actually stop the organism from binary fusion happening, so they stop them from multiplying. In other words, once it's been denatured, they're completely destroyed. So gamma radiation is perfect for anything that is very, very highly sensitive. Just to share with you, I've been to the facilities in Australia. So it is just like a James Bond movie kind of thing, where it's the pool, and then after that, when this whole load of container will contain all those products that needs to be irradiated, everybody will have to leave. Everybody will have to leave the area and then stand behind those protected walls, and then it goes, and then the column will come out, and then the radiation will start hitting the load that has been prepared to be irradiated. So that's how gamma radiation occurs. But again, it needs to be aerated. It cannot be used immediately. All right. Your second question is about how many times it can be used, isn't it, for after it being reprocessed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so which type of material? Is it the reusable medical devices or the single-use item?
The reusable, ma'am.
Okay,
after going through the process of sterilization, like how many times? Is there like any limits for that process to be done?
Okay, for the reusable medical devices, mostly are made from product that can withstand temperature, can withstand all this sterilant over and over again. So the reprocessing is unlimited. So each time used on patient, they have to be subjected to decontamination and sterilization. It doesn't matter how many times, as long as the instrumentation, the surface of instrumentation can withstand the pressure and the steam. Having said that, metal, we think that metal can last long? Not really. Metal has got metal stress itself. So before it goes into stress further, especially the telltale sign will be pitting, will be crack, minute crack, or rusting. That's the first thing that we need to do, that we isolate. We remove this and replace with something else, because the moment it goes into pressure, if we are not careful, it will break. And then sometimes during surgery, it can break. So that's important for the CSSD technician to be actually vigilant in looking and search and making sure that all the surface instruments is actually free from all this pitting and stain, rusting, crack. Passivation layer is very important. That's why we use alkaline-based detergent to actually helps to passivate the surface so that it can maintain at all time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for your explanation.
Thank you.
Yeah, for the question coming from Hilmia Aziza.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Wirawan, for the chance for me. Thank you, Dr. Nur Halida, for such a thoughtful presentation. It's a new knowledge for me. So I will give a question. Is it possible for to use like a natural material to the sterilization process for the medical device? Thank you.
Can you repeat again? Natural material? What do you mean by natural material?
Like natural, from the nature.
From the nature?
Yes.
To be used
to use the sterilization process to the medical devices.
Okay, so the natural resources, as I mentioned earlier on, for example, suture, the silk suture, remember? That is natural resources. That one is from silkworm. Yeah, it's not what do you call it? It's not synthetic. It is made from natural, it made from a worm itself that they braided. Okay, that's one of it. And then they also have a suture called a catgut. It's made from the intestine of the animals. So usually they use the intestine from a goat. All right. They rest assured they not use intestine from pig, but more from those lamb or a goat or cow. So goat is the one that is much more finer. So that is what we call catgut suture, and it goes through the process of sterilization. However, that catgut, especially from the gut of the animals, we do not reprocess through steam sterilization, and we cannot reuse again, even though it is not used or they open accidentally and they didn't use, we cannot reprocess because it is made of gut. As compared to earlier on to the silkworm braided, that is because it's dry, so it's dry after it's braided, that we can actually again, we have proven during our studies that when we go subject that through sterilization process, there's no growth. But it's not really advisable that we reprocess sutures that's not used for the second time use. You got what I mean? So those are the natural products that we will not reprocess for the next patient use. And then the other natural product which is used things like graft, skin graft. You're talking about skin. Remember? when they have skin grafting, so that the manufacturer or the developer of that skin graft will actually go through subject that skin graft through sterilization process, again not through steam but through all other methods that will not create changes to the structure of the skin graft. Does that answer you?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Nurhalida, for the answer.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Tasha, let's go ahead for the next question.
I can't hear, Tasha.
Tasha, you should unmute first, I guess. We cannot hear your voice. You're still muted. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Nurhalida, for your presentation. I'm Tasha Sukawati from SEBELAS University. I want to ask what kind of material characteristics are suitable for sterilizing hospital equipment and what examples? Thank you.
I can't really, sorry, Tasha, can you repeat your question, Tasha? And slowly, because I think it's breaking up.
Thank you, Ms. Nurhalida, for your presentation. I'm Tasha Sukawati from SEBELAS University. I want to ask what kind of material characteristics are suitable for sterilizing hospital equipment and what samples?
You're asking about, sorry, you're too fast here. What material you're talking?
Okay, I want to ask what kind of material characteristics are suitable for sterilizing hospital equipment and what examples?
Okay, material, composite, you mean? The material composite, what is suitable for sterilization in hospital? Is that what it is? Okay, so the most common material composition that can be reused and be reprocessed in the hospital, the most popular one is metal. Anything that made of metal, all right, aluminum, alloy, that will be much more easier to reprocess in the hospital and very commonly used. The other one is silicone. Silicone also can withstand high temperature. That's what is being used in the hospital. Just bear in mind, all hospital, we only use two types of sterilization process. One is high temperature, the other one is low temperature. So the high temperature is using the steam. So all those components that I've mentioned to you can withstand steam. The other one is low temperature that we use hydrogen peroxide in plasma state or hydrogen peroxide vaporized. Those sterilization process compatible for anything that is flexible, like for example, are you familiar with gastroscope? You know, gastroscope, the one that they look into your guts, into your stomach. All right, so those are the flexible made of material which cannot withstand heat. So then we will put into the low temperature, because the highest temperature that they can withstand is 50 degrees centigrade, where the hydrogen peroxide sterilization process, maximum temperature is up to only 50, so it's compatible. So these are the materials that is commonly used in the hospital for sterilization process. And glass as well, but nowadays they use less glass as well. And anything that is plastic that can withstand high temperature, we also, it's also being used in hospital for reprocessing. Does that answer your question?
Not yet, Miss. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
I think we have still one more question from Amelia. Switch. Please convey your question. Amelia.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Nalika, for this presentation. I'm Amelia from SEBELAS MERET University. Please describe the reaction mechanism and sterilization process or steps for sterilization of hospital equipment. Thank you.
Repeat again your questions. Amelia, can you repeat again your question?
Please describe the reaction mechanism and sterilization process or steps for sterilization of hospital equipment.
If hospital equipment. Okay, so so what happened is that when we are doing reprocessing of any equipment, as I mentioned earlier on, I said steam is the most safer way of sterilization, except you don't touch the instrumentation or the load immediately after it being sterilized, because you can get yourself injured, scalded. Yeah. So the process is that once it's completed the decontamination process, it goes through into we put into the sterilizer. So a beginning of the sterilization process is called conditioning. So conditioning is when the temperature has been raised upwards. So when the temperature keep on rising, because the temperature will coordinate relative together with the pressure or the vacuum that has been removed from the chamber. So can you imagine like it is, how should I say it? How to imagine that? Imagine like you put something in the oven, right? In the oven, okay? In the oven, but this oven is not dry heat, is something with a steam, all right? Steamer, let's say you put a steamer, but this steamer has got pressure, vacuum created. So the whole chamber, they will remove all air to create a negative pressure. So when they remove all air from the chamber to create negative pressure, when the water or the steam is already being produced, generated somewhere else, travel into the sterilizer itself, all right? And to maintain the steam in a steam state, when I say maintain the steam state, like you're boiling water, you see the steam coming out, right? So you try to capture the steam into a bottle and close. What happened to the steam? It become water. It condensates because there's no vacuum, because there's still positive pressure in that bottle. So for the sterilizer, once all the positive pressure have been removed and the steam goes in, it will maintain in that steam state, because that is the sterilant. Sterilant is the agent to kill all the microorganism. Remember when I said 4 minutes holding time? That's what we call logarithm death of the microorganism. So once it's reached to 134 degrees centigrade with the pressure, more than 206 kilopascal. So then again, all surface of the instrumentation, which has got microorganism initially, will have their cells get denatured. So can you imagine yourself dive into a 50-meter